the ACC last Thursday, and then last Tuesday we did the group of 5. Now we are moving on and deeper into our conference standing projections with the Big 12. It is time for 16 teams. Only 2 people in the conference championship. 1 will be Big 12 champion in our projections at the end of the season in December. Guys, it is go time with conference standing projections. I'm fired up. I'm ready. The Big 12 was a very interesting conference last year. It's bound to be even more interesting this year. The dynamic of everything there, it's going to be awesome. Cannot wait. I'm fired up. We're ready for more conference standing projections here for Pigskin Frenzy. Hope everyone's having a good day. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris. And whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Apple, or listening on Podbean, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some conference standing projection coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get news and highlights. You're going to get exclusive content from college football from me. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question as well as all things to date. And exclusive content from Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you're going to find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You're going to find a Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. Contact info, name, email, question. I'll answer it on air or off air if need be. There is platforms page. All the platforms I just mentioned on there. Click on your platforms pages and click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show, as well as store and affiliations page. More on that coming soon as we continue to regularly update everything for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, let's get rolling. I'm so excited about Pigskin Frenzy. It is just getting bigger and bigger, I think. I just am so blessed by the Lord to be doing this show each and every Tuesday and Thursday, to just be on here talking about college football by the grace of our Lord Jesus, because without him, I praise him, because without him, we wouldn't be doing this show, and I'm so fired up about just doing this show, continuing on with our conference standing projections. Because of him, we do this show, and because of him, we have the platform to talk about college football, because we praise him and we give him all the glory and praise for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, I'm so fired up. Big 12 conference standing projections. We have to dive in. 16 teams, 2 in the conference championship, 1 winner for the conference championship. You're going to think to yourself, like, you're really picking them. I am going to pick them. And you're going to think that it's very interesting who I have as my number 1 and in my number 2. You're going to think, oh, dude, really? Again, you did it last year with them. But just hang on. There's a good reason this year. There's a good, really, really good reason. But now my number 1 is going to be highly interesting. You're going to find that out here in a little bit. I'm excited. I'm ready to rock and roll. Big 12 conference standing projections here in a little bit. Last episode 230, we did Clemson, and we did Georgia Tech in the ACC championship, and we did the ACC projections in general. As I adjust my mic here, we did the group of 5 last Tuesday, who's the highest rated group of 5 team standing. We did who was going to finish as the highest rated group of 5 team going into the college football playoff. We did Boise State as number 1, Tulane at number 2. Interesting projections there. Keep them coming with the comments and keep it coming. Just plug it into Pigskin Frenzy on all socials at Pigskin_Frenzy on both X and Instagram. Keep plugging in and give me your thoughts and opinions, because I want to hear it. Comment on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube at Pigskin Frenzy Podcast. Just keep plugging into all channels for Pigskin Frenzy and keep commenting and subscribing and plug it in, because I want to hear your thoughts on who you guys have in your conference standing projections, and I just want to hear more from you. So keep on plugging in. Guys, 5,000 listeners. We couldn't do it without the Lord. Keep it coming. 5,000 and counting. Keep it coming. We're going to make it to 6,000 here soon. So guys, keep on plugging in. Guys, let's get it started with our conference standing projections for the Big 12. I don't want to wait any longer. 16 through 1. Interesting conference. Who is it on our list for Pigskin Frenzy? Number 16. We're going to kick it off right now. Number 16. I'm fired up. Number 16 is UCF. UCF is number 16. Why are they dead last in your conference standing projections to kick everything off with the Big 12? Well, coaching change. For one, they're rebuilding. Scott Frost is back as head coach for the UCF Knights. He's back in Orlando, back in Central Florida. He's back with everything. And I'm putting him in at 16 because, one, a lot of people have transferred out of UCF. Gus Malzahn's no longer the head coach there. It enters Scott Frost back again. New regime, new coaching staff. They return 3 starters on their defense, and they have major upgrades that they need to be doing at the offensive line and receiving core. They're in a complete rebuild mode, and that's why I had them dead last. I think they could be a good team. Maybe it's really not the American Conference. It's not Scott Frost's Group of 5, trajectory where they were in the Fiesta Bowl against LSU, and in 2018, they were one of the best teams in college football. It's not like that anymore. This is the Power 4, Big 12. It's a complete regime change. You know what I mean? It's totally different from 2018. It's 2025. It's been a minute, right? So, I mean, it's been 7 years, so let's just think about that. They return 3 starters on their defense. That's the big thing there. They have a quarterback battle that's happening right now with Taven Jackson, with Ja'Curry Brown, with Cam Fancher as well. Taven Jackson is looking like he most likely will be the starting quarterback for this UCF team come fall. Mackenzie Milton is their quarterback's coach. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there. They have a solid running back group with Miles Montgomery and Jaden Nixon. They have some guys on that offense that can really stand out. But here's the deal. They still have, offensive line and receiving. Who's going to be the dynamic at that? They don't really have the necessary build to compete right now, but that's okay. Don't expect Scott Frost and everything, to just be hunky-dory year one. Majority of the time with coaching and everything, it's not hunky-dory year one. It's not an immediate impact. Usually, it's okay, it's a process. You rebuild everything, and then you start, and then everything's good, right? So, in the long run. So, right now, UCF 16. Let's go to their schedule and see who they got to play, because they have a tough schedule. So, let's talk about who they're going to play, and let's get it going with that. Number 1, first game, they play Jacksonville State. Thursday, August 28th, Jacksonville State on ESPN Plus at home. Then they got to play North Carolina A&T, so that could be 2-0 start for them. Then they got to go to They got to go play North Carolina at home, so that could go either way. That's an out-of-conference game there. And then they start their Big 12 conference schedule with Kansas State at Kansas State. Don't favor them against Kansas State. Quarterback Avery Johnson's back from them. Kansas State's looking really, really good under Chris Klieman. Kansas State, I favor them in that one. Home game against Kansas, at Cincinnati. Then a home game against West Virginia. Okay, go back to Wake. They got to go to Waco after West Virginia to play Baylor. Back home against Houston, at Texas Tech. Back home against Oklahoma State, at BYU, and that's how they end their season. So kind of a tough schedule for them when they have 3 returning starters on defense. They're in rebuild mode. I put them at 16 because I don't favor them in a lot of their Big 12 games currently right now because of the rebuild. Now, could they shock somebody? Sure, everybody can shock anybody. I just think that they are going to finish 16 right now because of the rebuild. Do I think that UCF can get back on track? I believe, I think UCF can get back on track eventually. Just this season is probably not going to be their season. So, number 16 on our list is UCF to finish dead last in the conference standing projections for the Big 12. Number 15, kind of in the same situation. West Virginia is at 15. Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. You're probably thinking, Joel, shut up. Please quit singing. You're hurting your ears. So West Virginia is 15. Just because of the same thing, rebuild. I think a rebuild. And not only that, they get Rich Rod back, man. You know what I mean? They get Rich Rod back. Rich Rod is back, and he knows the culture of Morgantown, West Virginia. He knows everything there. He's familiar. It's a familiar head coach, back for a second stint. He's 15 on our list because of a rebuild mode, and everything's got to just get settled. I don't think it's going to be hunky-dory first season back for Rich Rod as head coach at West Virginia. He can go and build good offenses. What he did at Jacksonville State was impressive, and what he did in the Sun Belt was impressive. Don't get me wrong. I think he's got guys that are coming in who are really, really, talented. Jalen Henderson and Nico Marchiol, the two battles that going on, quarterback battles right there, or, big quarterback battle for the transfers going on there to see who's going to start for Rich Rod. They have zero concerns at offense. Jaheim White, Ty Edwards from Northern Iowa, and Jalen Knighton from SMU, the transfers there coming in. They got some solid running backs there. They have to completely revamp the offensive line, which is tough, but I think that they will have some weapons. They have Zach Alley coming in from Oklahoma. That was a huge get for West Virginia's defense, and I think that's going to be a really, really good thing for them just to fix that defense up there. They're in a rebuild, but they got some promise by hiring some coordinators, getting some pieces on offense. I think the offensive line is going to be tough and a struggle, and we don't know who the quarterback battle is going to be yet, and the schedule's not in their favor yet, but I think 15, because I think they will compete in some games under Rich Rod, and Rich Rod can find a way to shock a few people, but I think 15 right now suffice because they're rebuilding. They are rebuilding. So let's go to their schedule really quick, and let's talk about who they're going to play right off the bat. So number 15 on our list is West Virginia. First game they got to play is Robert Morris. Home game, I think that's a win. At Ohio, that's going to be a win, I think. And then they got to go play their rivalry game against Pitt. That's a toss-up. That's always going to be a classic there against Pitt at home. Then they got to go on the road to start Big 12 play against Kansas. At Lawrence, Kansas, going to be tough against Jalen Daniels there and Lance Leopold there. Back home against Utah, Kyle Whittingham there. At BYU, then at UCF. Then they got to go back home to play TCU. Then they go on the road to play Houston. Back home against Colorado. At Arizona State. Back home against Texas Tech to end their season. Tough schedule there. I don't really favor them against Texas Tech. I don't favor them against BYU. Colorado, do not really favor them against Colorado yet. Arizona State, I don't favor them against them. TCU could be a coin flip and could be a surprise. I don't really favor them against BYU either. I just think that they have some guys, and I think that next season, depending on how well they surprise and do well this year and how they show some promise in some of their games, I think West Virginia is a next year to 2 year kind of thing. I think it's one of those deals. I don't really expect much right now, but I do believe in Rich Rod. I'm not going to sit there. I do believe in Rich Rodriguez. I want to see what's going to happen a couple of years down the road or even next season. I think this year is a rebuilding year, getting everything there and getting comfortable with being back in Morgantown. So number 15 is West Virginia on our conference standing projections list there. So number 15 is West Virginia. Number 14, however, is Arizona. Okay. Arizona is number 14 on our list. Now, Brent Brennan, entering his second year as head coach for this team, finds himself, okay, all right, last year was a kind of a, iffy start, right, for my, first year at the helm, right, for Brent Brennan. If you want to look at, what happened, Arizona trying to rebuild, trying to find its footing. They lose guys like Tet McMillan. They lose guys like Noah Fafita. They lose some key pieces, but they got some guys coming in like a Braden Locke coming in at quarterback for Arizona who could be a difference maker at quarterback for this team. I just think that the roster itself is okay, and they can surprise some teams this year. I just think that they, on their schedule, have some teams, to me, where it's going to be kind of tough for them to really get into the thick of things, right? So, and that's why I think the schedule's against them, and that's why I really put them at 14. I think they can win some of these ball games and surprise some teams, but I think 14 on our list is suffice for Arizona. So, opening game, they got to play Hawaii. The Wildcats do. Revamp defense, revamp team on the O-line, interior on the O-line, brand new quarterback coming in. Got to get a new receiving core coming in. And then the thing is, they got some talent. I'm not saying that, but on their thick of their schedule, can they compete with a lot of who they got on their schedule. Their schedule's pretty tough. Hawaii opening game. Then they got to play against Weber State at home. Then they got to play home against Kansas State. Starting Big 12 play there. Home against Kansas State. That's a tough opening Big 12 game there. At a bye week at Iowa State. Back home against Oklahoma State. And then they got to play BYU at home. At Houston. At Colorado. Home against Kansas. At Cincinnati. Home against Baylor. At Arizona State. They got some teams on the road that are tough, but majority of their tough games are at home for them, which is pretty good for them. So the scheduling at home at least is in their favor, but they still got some tough teams they got to go up against. I'm not sure if they're ready for it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure if they're ready for that yet. I put them at 14 because of that reason. So for right now, I think they can do better than they did last year, maybe. But number 14 on our list is Arizona right now. So 14, Arizona on our conference standing projections for the Big 12. Number 13 on our list is Cincinnati. And just for me, for Cincinnati, number 13 for me, I think that Scott Satterfield is entering trajectory where he's going to have to do a little bit more in Cincinnati. I think he's entering that trajectory right now where it's okay. I'm on the hot seat a little bit entering this season, but I think when it comes to doing something, I think I got the talent, and got the talent and coordinators with me to do it. I just think that their schedule's a little bit tough. I mean, the Big 12 is tough in general, and they got some teams that they're playing against that are like, oh, okay, it's more favorable than Arizona's. But I will say that they got some teams on their schedule where it's like, oh man, that could put us back a little bit, maybe. I think Cincinnati, to me, I think that they can exceed, and this is just my thoughts. I think they can exceed their win total from last year because they went, they went 5-7. They went 5-7 last year, but I think they could go and win at least 7 more, at least 7 games because it's a deep conference. You can be 13 in the conference and win 7 games, right? Brendan Sorsby is at quarterback for them, and I think that's a huge boost for them at the quarterback spot. He could win them some ball games. I think he's an underrated quarterback for the Big 12. I think he's got some guys, he has some guys around him that can help out, but Sorsby last year did well, but he's got more weapons around him this year than he did last year, which could help them win at least 7 games. So for Cincinnati, they have a tough outing in some games, but they could exceed last year's win total. I think if Satterfield wins at least 7 to 8 games this year and finishes at least 13, like I said, I think his job could be safe, but he's got to at least make a bowl game this year, I believe. But Sorsby could help him do that. Opening game, they have Nebraska in Kansas City at Arrowhead, a neutral site game, Thursday, August 28th, in neutral site in Kansas City, Cincinnati and Nebraska. Tough game there, interesting game there. We'll see how it goes there. At home against Bowling Green. Then they got to play Northwestern State at home. Then their opening Big 12 game is on the road against Kansas. So that's going to be a tough on-the-road game there. Then they got to go back home to play Iowa State. Back home to play UCF. Got to go on the road at Stillwater to play Oklahoma State. At home again against Baylor. Back on the road against Utah. Back home against Arizona. Back home against BYU. At TCU, and that's how they end their season. So there are some games on that schedule that could be tough, but they could surprise some teams. Who knows? They could actually legit shock some teams, which could get them that 7-win total. Hard schedule, got to play some good teams, but let's see if Cincinnati can do it. To me, I think they're 13. I don't really favor them against BYU. I don't favor them against Baylor, Utah, or Iowa State at this point in time. Kansas is a toss-up game to me. UCF, I think I favor them against UCF. I think that Arizona's a toss-up game. I think TCU could be a toss-up game as well, but I don't know. I lean TCU more than Cincinnati. But Arizona, I think Cincinnati right now is 13 on our list because it's a very interesting situation. They got the players, but can they outcompete against some of the teams that they got on their schedule. So number 13, Cincinnati on our conference standing projection list. Number 12 on our list. To me, number 12. Excuse me, I get my notes ready. Number 12 on our list is Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. Okay. Oklahoma State's an interesting dynamic because you're going to think, well, now they have a complete overhaul on, the coaching. Josh Baum-Clements, defensive coordinator from last year, gone. Brian Nardo, gone. They needed an OC to call the plays, and they got one. It's just a whole thing with Oklahoma State. Their whole staff from last year is gone. A whole new staff, coordinator, defensive coordinator, all there for them. Last year was a shock. Let me just go on and say that about Oklahoma State. I picked them at 12, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But last year was a shock for them. Let's talk about, if you want to look at it, I thought they were going to finish in the top 10 or top 5 last year because of Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon's solid. They literally when I say underperformed is an understatement. They were pretty much dead last, where I probably had Oklahoma State or where I had Arizona State last year. They were 3-9, 0-9 in conference play. I think they did finish dead last in Big 12 play last year, and in Big 12 in general, finished dead last. Just like where I had Arizona State last year in conference standing projections for 2024. 3-9, they had a 9-game losing streak to finish their season. Oof. And they had one of the best running backs in college football. Tough outing there. That's all I got to say. But now, we enter 2025. Whole new coaching staff. Whole new coaching staff. Whole new conference, whole new defensive coordinator, whole new offensive coordinator, and they enter a brand new season, pretty much. Mike Gundy, still head coach. They were wanting to see if there's going to be a new contract or what's going to happen there, but they said, all right, we got you a new contract, but you need to get some guys on your team. Got Doug Meacham at offensive coordinator, familiar face there. Then they got Todd Grantham, another familiar face at the defensive coordinator spot. So 2 proven coordinators. Let's see how it works out for them. I think they're number 12. Now, hear me out. Hear me out as we go to their schedule going into this year. I think they're playing some teams that are really, really solid and that are proven to be a little bit better. Now, I think they have some guys like Brian McCoy, Cam Smith, Dylan Smith, guys, on defense. You got guys up front like Demarion Thomas and Tej McCoy. Those are some newcomers. You got guys like TCU transfer, Haas Hingy, Zane Flores, guys who are battling for the starting job. They're revamping their quarterback spot. They're revamping a lot of their guys. So that's going to be interesting there. And this is why I put them at 12, because I think it could be interesting. To me, it's only there's one way to go from 3-9, and it's up. Kind of like Florida State. What I said about Florida State Thursday. It's one way to go, and it's up. I think that, to me, Oklahoma State is a team where I think they're going to finish 12th, but I think they could surprise some teams, maybe. Let's see. I like Mike Gundy. I've been a believer in Mike Gundy for as long as I can remember. I think the Cowboys probably won't get close, but I think they could surprise some teams, and that could land them better than 3-9. So let's talk about their schedule and who they have. They open up against UT Martin at home. They have to play Oregon on the road. They have to play Tulsa at home, and then they kick off their Big 12 conference games against Baylor at home, at Arizona, back home against Houston, back home against Cincinnati, at Texas Tech, at Kansas, back home against Kansas State, at UCF, back home against Iowa State in their last game. That's tough. I think those are some tough games, but they could beat UCF. You can lean them maybe against Kansas and Cincinnati maybe, and Houston maybe, but I think Houston could be a lot better, and will probably be a lot better. So it's an interesting dynamic there. Oklahoma State to me will finish 12th. I just think that the coordinators are a good spot, and Mike Gundy needs to not call the plays. But I will say that some of the issues to me that still linger are the battle of the quarterback spot that concern me there, and a lot of the line of scrimmage. Revamping the line of scrimmage a little bit. I think they're 12th, and I think they can surprise some teams, but I think that Oklahoma State will finish 12th because I don't think that they're better than a lot of the other teams ahead, that I have ahead of them at least, in terms of finishing to go to the Big 12 championships. So number 12 is Oklahoma State on our Big 12 conference standing projections list. Number 11, speak of the devil, is Houston. And we mentioned Houston just a minute ago with Oklahoma State's schedule, and number 11 is Houston. Houston's an interesting dynamic. Willie Fritz entering his second year at the helm there. I'm a little bit higher on Houston this year. I think that they're going to be I expect them to be a lot better this year than most. I think I would consider Houston to me a surprise team of the Big 12. I think they have a really good line of scrimmage and a bolstered line of scrimmage. I think Willie Fritz is a good coach to compete, and I think he will compete this year and surprise a lot of teams. I don't think they're going to win it all, but I think Houston will be a lot better, and will finish 11 on our standings. Let's look at who they got on their schedule. Stephen F. Austin, opening game. That's a win for me. They got to play Rice. That's a win for me. It's at Rice. That's a win for me. Back home against Colorado. That's questionable. That's a Big 12 opener. They got to play or at Oregon State. Then they got to go back home and play Texas Tech. Then they got to play at Oklahoma State. Then against Arizona, at Arizona State. Back home against West Virginia, at UCF. Back home against TCU, at Baylor. So they have some games that they could shock in, like Colorado, like a TCU. Baylor's a questionable game. They could probably beat Oklahoma State, maybe. I think the game could beat UCF. I think they could beat UCF. It could beat West Virginia, and could beat Arizona. I think they have a shot at beating a lot of these teams and surprising some teams and having a better year than last year. I really do. I favor and I think Houston could be a team to watch out for. I think Arizona State's going to be a stretch. I think Colorado could be a stretch, maybe. But I think Texas Tech could be a stretch, and Kansas. Excuse me. And Baylor could be a stretch too, maybe. But I think some of these games on their schedule could not really be a stretch. I think Houston at 11 is a good spot for them. I think they won't finish in the top 5, but I think they finish right outside the top 10 of our conference standing projections and could finish right outside the top 10 in the Big 12. Number 11 to me is Houston, entering Willie Fritz's second year as they progressively get better. So number 11 is Houston on our standings. Number 10 on our list. Number 10 is TCU. I'm a little bit higher on TCU this go around. Sonny Dykes and TCU for this team. I think Josh Hoover is a solid quarterback. I think he's a quarterback that was highly touted by a lot of teams in the portal and was trying to be poached by a lot of teams in the portal to go to for the likes of Tennessee and the likes of others, but he rejected it, and I'm staying where the Horned Frogs, staying with the Horned Frogs, man. So Josh Hoover and company, one of the most underrated dynamic quarterbacks of the Big 12, can put them in a lot of situations to win games. And I believe that TCU could surprise some teams and win some games. Number 10 is TCU on our list for that reason. Let's go and let's see who they're playing on their schedule. Opening game, number 1 for them is North Carolina at North Carolina. TCU is actually a favorite in that game to open up on Labor Day weekend, and that could be a game where maybe Pigskin Frenzy covers it. Who knows? At North Carolina, September 1st. Then they got to play Abilene Christian at home, SMU at home, at Arizona State to kick off their Big 12 play, back home against Colorado, at Kansas State, back home against Baylor, at West Virginia, back home against Iowa State, at BYU, at Houston, back home against Cincinnati. So they got some tough games, but I think Josh Hoover can put them in a position to surprise some teams and win their games. I think Cincinnati, Houston, I think BYU could be a coin flip. I think they could compete against BYU, but I favor BYU. I think West Virginia, Houston, Cincinnati, And I think those are some games they could possibly win. I think that and Abilene Christian and North Carolina are toss-ups as well. I think Arizona State, Colorado, Kansas State, Baylor, and Iowa State and BYU are games that they could compete in maybe, but those are some games that I lean the latter in against TCU. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think TCU can finish in the top 10 because of the dynamic play on offense, but I will pump the brakes when I say against an Iowa State, against a BYU, I'm going to pump the brakes there. They still got to revamp a little bit of their defensive line as well, and I think that's a really big key there for TCU. So number 10 on our list is TCU, finishing number 10 on our conference standing projection list. Number 9 is Colorado. Who's going to be the starting quarterback of Colorado? Is it going to be Caden Salter or Julian Lewis? I favor Caden Salter right now only because I think that Julian Lewis needs to progress a little bit more. But their defense looks a little bit more physical, especially up front, especially at the defensive line. The linebackers are a little bit more physical. The secondary is a little bit better. I think the offensive play needs to be a little bit better than it was. But I'm going to sit there and say this. I think quarterbacks are good, but they need to just play a little bit better. I think Caden Salter gives them a better chance to win this year, but I think long-term Julian Lewis will be their guy, and he will progressively get better. So to me, I would start Caden Salter, but that's just me. Coach Prime entering his third year at Colorado. Salter and Lewis are the battle that's going on there. They got some guys at running back. They got some guys on the O-line. They revamped the O-line a little bit and bolstered that up a little bit. The line of scrimmage is a little bit more physical, which is good, and I wanted Colorado to see more physicality out of them. I think some of the teams that they have on their schedule, they're favorable, but at the same time, they could lose some games where I could put them back to number 9 on our list. And I'm going to tell you who they got on their schedule. But right now, I think they have a good team put together. But number 9 is suffice on my list for Colorado because of some of the games that they have on their schedule. So opening game, and this is who they have. Their opening game for us is Georgia Tech. That's their opening game. That's a tough game. That's on Friday, August 29th. It's at home for Georgia Tech. It's at home for Colorado, which is good, but that's a tough opener, an out-of-conference game for Colorado. Delaware is their next game at home. Then they got to play at Houston to kick off their Big 12 play at Houston on Friday. At Houston. Then they got to play Wyoming back at home. Then they got to go back home and play BYU. On the road against TCU, back home against Iowa State, at Utah, at home against Arizona, at West Virginia, at home against Arizona State, at Kansas State to end their season. So Kansas State, tough game in Manhattan. Got to play Arizona State back at home, but Arizona State's a tough team. That's a very good team. They got to play at home against Arizona State, at home against Iowa State, luckily, but they got to play at Manhattan, Kansas. So that's some tough games there. I don't really favor them against those in those 3 games right now, but I think they're going to compete, and they're a physical team. I think they lose those games, and that could put them back at number 9 because it's a stacked Big 12. So if you lose 3 conference games, that puts you back in the 8th or 9th spot in standings. To me, I think TCU could compete with them, but I don't know. I lean Colorado more in that game, but TCU could still compete with them. I think to me, and they got BYU at home. I think BYU's another one. And the thing is, for me, those are some tough games that they got on their schedule that can put them back at 9th, and I think it will put them back at 9th. So to me, number 9 is Colorado, only because the toughness of their schedule. I think they're good and they're physical, but I think the questions at quarterback and the questions on how they move the ball at offense are getting to me, and that's where I put them. That's why I put them at number 9. So Colorado at number 9 for me. I think they're a good team, but are they better than Arizona State, BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State, and Arizona State? Who knows? Who knows until they play? But number 9 is Colorado on our list. Number 8 is Kansas on our list. As we're in the top 10 now, Kansas is on our list at number 8. Jalen Daniels is back. Lance Leipold is back for another season. They're trying to make another run at it. Are they going to be a Kansas team where they, at first go down and then rise from the ashes midway through the season and surprise some teams and go to a bowl game? Or are they going to go undefeated at the halfway and then kerplunk at the second half of the season? We've seen that back and forth the past few seasons with Jalen Daniels and Lance Leipold at Kansas. We don't know. But I put them at 8 because I think they're going to be a better team than they were last year. I think they were a very injury-ridden team. They got a lot of guys coming back for them, and I think that they have a lot of guys that are going to be healthier this year, especially Jalen Daniels. And when Jalen Daniels is healthy and he's on, and he can compete at quarterback with a lot of guys in college football. So number 8 for me is Kansas, and I think that they're going to be a team that surprises a lot of teams last year and compete with a lot of teams. I think they're up front. They're a little bit physical, especially on the offensive line. They got a better offensive line, maybe. If you want to look to me at Kansas, I think they're a team that could, really compete with a lot of teams. I think that they have, Jeff Grimes departing from Wisconsin. They have a new play caller with Jeff Zabrowski and Matt Lubbock as OC. They missed Devin Neal. LaShawn Williams from Iowa will be, a good addition to the backfield, though. But if you look at the line in transition being with new starters, the receiving core still trying to find some new faces. I think that they will step up, and the new guys will step up on the O-line. The new guys will step up in general. Will complete Kansas and make Kansas a better unit. Let me just put it that way. Better unit, and will be a surprise unit this year. Jalen Daniels, to me, needs to stay healthy, and I think if he stays healthy, they will be in that spot to be number 8. So if you look at Kansas, who they got to play, first game they got to play Fresno State at home, Wagner at home, at Missouri, in the KU MU rivalry at Missouri, back home to West Virginia to kick off their Big 12 play, back home against Cincinnati, at UCF, at Texas Tech, at home against Kansas State, at home against Oklahoma State, at Arizona, at Iowa State, against Utah to end their season. And I think they could surprise some teams, but they could also have some teams on that schedule that could beat them. I think they have a shot at surprising some teams. I don't favor them against Iowa State. I do not favor them against Kansas State or Texas Tech. I think, to me, that they have the shot at surprising Arizona, surprising Utah, beating Oklahoma State maybe, beating UCF and Cincinnati, beating West Virginia. I think they got some shot. They got a shot at winning some of these ball games and finishing 8th in the league. I think that's the best bet for them right now, due to some of the departures they have at the receiving core and revamping the O-line, revamping the line. I think their defensive line's good, but if you look at their O-line, needs a little bit of work, but they could still form by midseason, right? Somehow, because the Jayhawks always do this, form to be a formidable opponent to a lot of guys in the second half of midway through the season. So number 8 to me is Kansas. I think they'll finish better than last year, and I think Kansas is suffice for the number 8 spot on our Big 12 standing projections. Number 8 is Kansas in the Big 12. Number 7 is Utah. Utah, to me, was going to be our Big 12 champion last year with Cam Rising, depleted with injuries, quarterback issues, just a bunch of things, right? Just a bunch of things happening with a bunch of injuries happening again for Utah. They finished kind of middle of the pack, closer to dead last in the conference. But now I put them at number 7 because I think they're going to be a lot better, a lot more healthy, and Kyle Whittingham is not going to go out like that, right? So number 7 to us is Utah. I think they'll be a lot better this year than last year. If you look, to me, at Utah, I think, to me, if you look at they do have some good, besides Cam Rising being gone, because Cam Rising, they have good quarterback play. They entered the season last year. The favorites, and my favorite, injuries happened, and now this year they're kind of revamping, they're kind of loading, and now they have Jason back. They have Jason Beck back, Devon Dampier as a quarterback for this team coming in from New Mexico. They have a shot at being, a top duo, an underrated duo in the Big 12. Dampier and Jason Beck at offensive coordinator. They had to revamp their offensive coordinator, their offensive line. Just revamping a lot, but due to injuries and a lot of departures. But I still think they will finish 7th, and I think they'll finish 7th because to me, I think that they got some veteran presence through the portal, and I think through the portal, it's going to help them win some of these ball games. So number 7 to me is Utah, and I think they have a shot at surprising some teams on their schedule. Number 1 is UCLA at home. Out on the road to UCLA in the Rose Bowl. So at UCLA, out of conference game there, got to go back on to play Cal Poly at Wyoming. They start their conference play against Texas Tech in a huge opener there at West Virginia, at home against Arizona State, at BYU versus Colorado versus Cincinnati, at Baylor versus Kansas State, at Kansas. So a tougher schedule, but they have a shot at competing and surprising some of these teams on their schedule. And I think due to some of their veteran presence to the portal that they have added, Kyle Whittingham, I don't really envision Kyle Whittingham losing and going, backwards in the Big 12 after last season. I think they remain healthy. I think they lose some of these games, yes, but I think that they will compete nonetheless. So number 7 on our list is Utah. I think they'll be a lot better, but number 7 is to suffice for them because I think the teams ahead of them are just a little bit better roster-wise and just better as a team right now. So number 7 is Utah on our list. Number 6 on our list is Baylor. Dude, Baylor is a solid team. I think they were a solid team last year. Dave Aranda was on a hot seat. Probably still is trending that way, but Dave Aranda found a way to save his job last year. Went to the Texas Bowl. Unfortunately, lost to LSU in kind of a rather non-competitive game, but they did really, really well, and they bring back a solid quarterback in Sawyer Robertson, probably one of the best quarterbacks in the college football and one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. I think that Sawyer Robertson is dynamic and could prove to be dynamic and win them some ball games for this team. So I think that's another reason why I picked Baylor to surprise a lot of people and finish 6th in the Big 12. Auburn is their first game. That's a home game for them. They got to play at SMU. They got to go back home and play Samford. So week 1 and week 2, tough to me. Tough. 2 weeks. First 2 weeks are tough for Baylor. At home against Auburn and then at SMU. So tough out of conference games there. Besides Samford, tough games out of there, out of conference games for them. Then they kick off their Big 12 play against Arizona State at home on September 20th. At Oklahoma State, back home against Kansas State, at TCU, at Cincinnati, back home against UCF, back home against Utah, at Arizona, and then to finish off the season, Houston. I favor them against Houston. I favor them against Arizona. Utah could be a coin flip. I favor them against UCF, and I favor them against Cincinnati. TCU, a coin flip. It's hard to favor them, and I favor them against Oklahoma State. It's hard to favor them against Kansas State, Arizona State, and I think because of those games there, and maybe a surprise loss against, Utah maybe, that puts them in the back at really 6. I think they're 6 because I think their schedule's favorable, and I think they got the team to do it. I think they got the running backs. I think they got the quarterback with Sawyer Robinson. I think offensively they can do it. I think Dave Aranda's building something up there right now in this season. I think they finish 6, and I think Dave Aranda still sticks around in Waco. So number 6 to me is Baylor to finish 6 in the conference standing projections. Number 6 is Baylor on our conference standing projections for the Big 12. Number 5 is BYU, and I think they're top 5 because they're a tough football team, and I think they're going to be really, really tough there. Jake Ratzlaff is going to be a solid quarterback for this team. I think that Ratzlaff's going to be he's developed quite into a good instrumental. It was instrumental his development was last year. I think he's going to be even better this year. I think that, to me right now, going on with his legal troubles right now, McKay Hillstead could be the starter, maybe, who knows, but a lot of issues going on off the field. If Ratzlaff could play, it could be a lot better. I think 5 is suffice for them overall because I think they have a solid team overall. They bring back a lot of guys, L.J. Martin in the backfield. They bring back a lot of guys on the defensive side of things as well. I think 5 is suffice because of the teams ahead of them, what they did to the portal and during the offseason and late last year. I think that BYU is going to be a tough team. I think they stick at 5. I think the teams ahead of them are a little bit better roster-wise, but I think the toughness of BYU can't go unnoticed, and I think that's why they're number 5 on our list. They play Portland State opening game. Then they at home, they're going to play Stanford at home, at East Carolina. Then they kick off their Big 12 conference play with at Colorado, back home against West Virginia, at Arizona, versus Utah at home, at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, versus TCU, at Cincinnati, versus UCF, and that's how they finish their season. Here is where it gets me. Let's mark these 2 weeks down. At Iowa State, at Texas Tech. Those are back-to-back. To me, that's tough. I think it's very, very tough to overcome, and I think that slips them to number 5. I don't favor them against Texas Tech in Lubbock, and I do not favor them against Iowa State at Ames, Iowa. It's tough for me to sit there and say that. It really is. I just think that it's really tough for me to sit and say BYU's going to go back-to-back and win one of those games. That's a tough ask between two talented teams right there. So to me, I don't favor them against those two teams. They at Colorado is a tough ask, but I think they can win that game. I think they're number 5 on our list due to their toughness of their roster. Retzlaff is a question mark right now. What's going on with him? But I think they're a tough football team that can find a way to win ball games. But number 5 is BYU because of a tough 2-game stretch with Iowa State and Texas Tech back-to-back. So number 5 is BYU on our list. Number 4 is Texas Tech. And you're going to think, wow, really? Yes, because did you see the roster? Excuse me. Did you see the roster that Joey McGuire built through the transfer portal? Number 2. They finished number 2 in the transfer portal rankings for 2025. Number 2, everybody's going to Lubbock, man. Joey McGuire's got them believing. He's recruiting like a madman in the portal, and he's got one of the top quarterbacks in the Big 12 coming back. Coming back with Bedran Morton from Eastland, Texas, senior 6'2", 220 pounds. B-Ren Morton, solid quarterback last year, going to be even better this year. He's got a solid running back with Quentin Joyner as a sophomore. He's going to be a solid beast with them. Micah Hudson comes back at wide receiver for them, back on their team. They got a lot of guys. Terrence Carter Jr. and at tight end, a lot of playmakers on defense, and I think Texas Tech's got a shot at surprising a lot of teams and being a solid quarterback and being a solid offensive unit and solid defensive unit for the Big 12 this year. I think they got a shot at winning a lot of games. I don't know if they're going to win the Big 12 because I think there's a couple of teams ahead of them that are better, but I think 4th for me is suffice for Texas Tech. They can come close and they can compete for a Big 12 title this year. I think they will compete for a Big 12 title this year because I think they'll be top 4 in the Big 12. So number 4 is Texas Tech. They got to play Arkansas Pine Bluff on August 30th. I'm really high on Texas Tech this year, guys. I'm really high on B-Ren Morton at quarterback. I'm really high as Joe McGuire's head coach and the way he's built this team on both sides of the football. I think they play Arkansas Pine Bluff. They beat them. They play Kent State, beat them. Play Oregon State, all at home these games are. Beat them. They go 3-0 at Utah to kick off their Big 12 play at Houston. Back home against Kansas. On the road against Arizona State. And that is where a tricky game there. Back home against Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, back home against BYU, back home against UCF, at West Virginia, and that's how they end their season. They avoid Iowa State. I think Arizona State's going to give them tough ask. BYU's going to give them a tough ask. Kansas State's going to give them a tough ask at Arizona State, and then that's going to give them a tough ask. I think a lot of their other games I favor them in. I think I can favor them against BYU, the way their roster is loaded. And I think that Utah could be a toss-up, but I think they could beat Utah. I'm really high on Texas Tech. I think the way their roster's built, they could easily slip and easily beat some of these teams and find themselves in Arlington and Dallas, Texas for the Big 12 championship. I'm really high on Texas Tech. They have a shot. Guns up. Go Red Raiders. I think they're 4 because I favor 3 other teams ahead of them right now, but I think number 4 for us is Texas Tech in our Big 12 conference standing projections. Number 3, 2, and 1 as we conclude our episode of Pigskin Frenzy for Big 12 conference standing projections. Number 3 on our list is Arizona State. the defending Big 12 champions. Why do you have them at number 3? Because the other two teams I just find a little bit better heading in. I think they did lose a few key pieces. Arizona State did, but they still have a roster to compete in the Big 12. I really do believe that. Sam Leavitt, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, probably the best quarterback in the Big 12, maybe, besides B. Ren Morton and besides Sawyer Robinson, besides Avery Johnson and Rocco Becht. I think Sam Leavitt's a solid quarterback. He's a lethal weapon. He is smart. He carries himself like a true leader on the field for the Sun Devils. They replaced Cam Scatteraboo with Kanye Udoh. They got Jordan Tyson at receiver, who was a menace. But they have to replace some key guys on the defensive side of things, and that's a question right there. And I think that's what could put them back at number 3 for me. I do favor them in a lot of games. I think they could lose some games as well, though. Let's look at who they got to play. Opening game, they play Northern Arizona at home, at Mississippi State on the road, Texas State at home. They play at Baylor to open up their Big 12 conference play. At home against TCU, at Utah, at home against Texas Tech, at home against Houston, at Iowa State, in a Big 12 championship rematch, at home against West Virginia, at Colorado, at home against Arizona. And I think some of these games I favor them in. I think Texas Tech's questionable. I think Iowa State's questionable. They avoid Kansas State. Baylor can give them a game. And I just think that they're going to win a majority of it. But I think Iowa State, I look at Iowa State, I look at Kansas, I look at Texas Tech, and I look at Iowa State as the circles right there. If you circle it on your calendar, I look at those in red Sharpie. Circle those, because I think those games right there could decide whether Arizona's competing for the Big 12 title or they're actually sitting at number 3, like I said. So to me, those are questionable games. Number 3 is Arizona State. I think they got some questions, slight questions on the defensive side of things, but I think overall they're going to compete for the Big 12 championship. They're a solid football team. Kenny Dillingham's a solid football coach. I think he can bring them back. They're going to compete this year. Number 3 is Arizona State on our conference standing projections list. Let's look at who's number 2 and 1 and who's going to the Big 12 championship game in our conference standing projections. Number 2 is Kansas State. Again, you had them number 2 like you did last year. I do, because I'm so high on Chris Kleiman and I'm so high on the Wildcats, man. I really like Kansas State. You're probably thinking, are you like a Kansas State homer? I'm not. I'm just really high on the coaching staff, and I'm really high on the talent there. I think Dylan Edwards is one of the most underrated running backs in college football, one of the best in the Big 12. I think Avery Johnson is one of the most underrated additions in college football at quarterback. The dynamic 1-2 punch combo at offense for them is going to be lethal. I think he's got some weapons. He's got some weapons around him. Kansas State does. A lot of people are going to think you have them at number 2. A lot of people are going to think I have him at number 1, and I understand that, but I'm going to tell you why I do not have them at number 1. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. They got some guys. J.C. Brown at wide receiver is a solid. That's his go-to guy. They're going to be solid together. You also got Joe Jackson, Dylan Edwards in the backfield. Defensively, they're really loaded, and I think they can have a shot at competing. I just think they got some guys. And I think that last year they bring back a lot of their guys from last year. They were a talented football team last year. I just think last year it was too early for them. I think this year it's not too early for them, and they're going to wind up in Dallas. I think Kansas State's a good football team, and I think they're going to find their way in Dallas. If you want to look at who they got at their schedule, their opening game is Dublin, week 0 against Iowa State. That could go either way. That really could go either way in Dublin. Week 0 there. Open up Big 12 play right off the bat, just like that. We're going to cover that game. I'm not going to give you my pick yet, but we will see. I'm going to give you my Big 12 championship pick now, but I'm not going to pick week 0 just yet. North Dakota at home on ESPN Plus, Army at home, and then they got to go continue their Big 12 play with at Arizona, at home against UCF, at Baylor, at home against TCU, at Kansas. Texas Tech's going to be tricky. At home, though, at Oklahoma State, at Utah, at home against Colorado, and that's how they end their season. I think they're better than pretty much every team on their schedule. I think Texas Tech's a toss-up. I think Baylor could be a toss-up. I think Iowa State's going to be a toss-up for sure. I think that they are going to wind up being favored in majority, if not all, of their Big 12 games. But I do think they're going to go to the Big 12 championship. I think they're going to finish number 2, and I think they're a solid football team. But right now, I think they're number 2 because of the team that's at number 1. So number 2 is Kansas State on our list. Number 1 on our list, and number 1 is Iowa State. Iowa State is number 1 on our list as in our Big 12 conference standing projections. Number 1 is Iowa State. Yes, they play Kansas State week 0. That's their opening game. I'm going to get to the roster in a minute. Let's go to their schedule. Week 0 is Kansas State. Toss-up game there. They got to play South Dakota at home, Iowa at home, at Arkansas State. Then they got to go back to Big 12 play and play Arizona at home, at Cincinnati, at Colorado, at home against BYU, at home against Arizona State, at TCU, at home against Kansas, on the road against Oklahoma State. I think they are going to be favored in majority of those games. I think the roster is good. I think that Rocco Beck is probably he's a lethal quarterback for this team. To me, they bring back a lot of guys. Iowa State does bring back a lot of guys from last year. I think they got year to me. To me, Matt Campbell and company got there last year a tad early. I think they were a year early, in my opinion. I think they were a loaded rod. And I said that, go back and listen to the conference, when I was recapping conference championships and I was talking about the playoffs and everything in the 2024 year. Go back and listen to that. I said that Iowa State was probably a year early. And they were a year early. They bring back Rocco Beck, lethal quarterback. They have Jalen Noel and they have Jaden Higgins off to the NFL, but they bring back guys like Xavier Townsend from UCF, and they bring guys in from East Carolina like Chase Soul at receiver. Carson Hansen, Abu Sama III are back in the backfield for this team. A lethal offense. They bring some guys in on defense to bring them at full strength, and I think that is why they're going to be in the Big 12. I think their defense is going to be a lot better than it was last year, and I favor Iowa State in a lot of games because of their roster reload from the portal and a lot of guys coming back on offense for them. So I think Rocco Beck's going to be lethal. I think Iowa State's going to be number 1. I favor them overall in the Big 12 at number 1, and I think, to me, they're going to be the team to do it. I think they were a year early. They're going to go back, and they're going to be used to the experience, and they're going to bring on their team, and they're going to be a lot better than they were last year to finish off. So number 1 is Iowa State and Matt Campbell. So Iowa State versus Kansas State in a Week 0 rematch for the Big 12 championship. And who do I have winning that one? I got Iowa State winning the whole Big 12. Iowa State over Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. I'm not going to pick the Week 0 match until August, but I will pick this game in the Week 0 game until August, but I will pick the Week 0 rematch in the Big 12 championship. Iowa State versus Kansas State in the Big 12 title game. Give me Iowa State to defeat Kansas State. I'll go 42-35. Iowa State 42, Kansas State 35. Iowa State over Kansas State in the Big 12 championship for Iowa State in the Big 12 championship and to secure a spot in the college football playoff. So Iowa State to win the Big 12 championship. I have them number 1 in the conference standing projections for the Big 12. Let me guys know who you have on your list, 16 through 1. We're going to post them tomorrow on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. So check it out. Comment down below tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Comment down below and see who's on your list for your conference standing projections for the Big 12. We have Iowa State over Kansas State. Iowa State winning it all in the Big 12. Guys, that should do it. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, trivia questions, and Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question as well as all things up to date and exclusive exclusive content from Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, listen to some college football projections and some conference standing projection coverage presented by me. We will be back Thursday with a continuation of our conference standing projections going over the Big Ten. We're going to talk about the Big Ten, the oldest conference in college football, the Big Ten. We're going to talk about who's going to finish with all 18 teams, the projected order of finish, and we're going to talk about who's in the Big Ten championship as well in our projections. You're not going to want to miss Thursday's episode of Pigskin Frenzy as we talk about the Big Ten. Guys, we love you all. We could not do this show without you. 5,000 listeners and counting. Keep on plugging into the show. Subscribe and follow on all platforms. X and Instagram, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple, Pigskin Frenzy, at Pigskin_Frenzy on the socials. Keep plugging in to the show. We couldn't do this show without you guys, and we most importantly could not do this show without our Lord Jesus. We praise him for everything that we've accomplished and what we've done with this show, and we praise him for everything. And if you guys want to come to know Jesus, it's the best decision you can ever make in your life. Contact me at Pigskin_Frenzy on X and Instagram. Contact me on the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. The contact info is down below on the site, and you can contact me, name and email and question to talk about, making the best decision in your life, and that's coming to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Because without him, we couldn't do this show. We give him all the praise and thanks for blessing us with this show. So we give him all the praise and glory for blessing us, with Pigskin Frenzy, and we love him, and we're so thankful for Jesus. We love you guys. We're so proud of this show. We're so thankful for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back Thursday with conference standing projections for the Big Ten. And until Thursday, I'm Joel Norris signing off. You're not going to want to miss what we got to say about the Big Ten on Thursday with our conference standing projections. Until Thursday, once again, Joel Norris signing off. Guys, we're praying for you all. We love you all. As always, stay the course.